Did you know a congressman's visit triggered one of history's most horrific mass murders? November 18, 1978, Congressman Leo Ryan arrived at Jonestown to investigate reports of abuse. Jim Jones knew his twisted paradise was crumbling. For months, he had conditioned his followers through endless suicide drills, calling them white knights. Sleep-deprived and isolated, 9 in 18 people had practiced drinking poison dozens of times. When Ryan's plane was attacked at the airstrip, Jones activated his final plan. He gathered everyone for what seemed like another drill. The audio recording captures his chilling calm as he convinced parents to poison their children first. "Don't be afraid to die," he whispered into the microphone. But this time was different. The children started convulsing and dying. Panic spread as people realized this wasn't practice. Armed guards forced the poison on those who resisted. In the end, Jones revealed his ultimate cowardice. While 918 followers lay dead from cyanide, he shot himself in the head.
Did you know one man killed 49 women and lived a completely normal family life? Gary Ridgway spent 16 years hunting along the SeaTac Strip near Seattle. Every night, he would cruise the area looking like any other customer. He targeted the most vulnerable women, runaways, and sex workers who wouldn't be missed. His trick was simple but deadly effective. He would show photos of his young son, playing the concerned father figure. This made women trust him completely. They thought he was safe. Once isolated, everything changed in an instant. The moment they realized their mistake, it was already too late. He chose specific dump sites in remote forests, returning to the bodies repeatedly. During the day, he worked his regular job and attended family dinners. Nobody suspected the quiet truck painter was a killer. When finally caught, he confessed to his crimes like reading a grocery list. 49 confirmed victims, possibly many more.
Did you know the Soviet Union used an entire population as human lab rats for 40 years? In 1949, the first atomic bomb exploded over Semipalatinsk in Kazakhstan. 200,000 people lived nearby, but nobody warned them what was coming. Soviet scientists watched from a safe distance as radioactive clouds drifted over villages and farms. This wasn't an accident, it was deliberate. For the next 4 decades, they treated every man, woman, and child like test subjects. Doctors arrived regularly, taking blood samples and recording birth defects in their notebooks. Families watched their babies born with missing limbs, enlarged heads, and twisted spines. When parents asked why, officials told them it was natural, perfectly normal, but the scientists knew exactly what they were doing. They documented everything: cancer rates, genetic mutations, death counts, all carefully filed away like laboratory data. 456 nuclear tests later, the program finally ended in 1989. The effects are still visible today, passed down through generations like a radioactive curse. Did you know investigators solved one of aviation's worst terrorist attacks using a fragment smaller than a fingernail? On December 21, 1988, Pan Am Flight 103 was cruising at 31,000 feet over Scotland when it simply vanished from radar. All 259 passengers and crew died instantly. 11 more on the ground were killed when debris rained down on Lockerbie. For months, investigators combed through 845 square miles of wreckage, rebuilding the entire Boeing 747 piece by piece. Then they found it, a tiny circuit board fragment embedded in a burned shirt. That microscopic piece led them to a specific timer used only by Libyan intelligence. The bomber was Abdelbasset al-Megrahi, who had checked the explosive-laden suitcase through multiple airports using stolen baggage tags. At exactly 7:03 that evening, plastic explosives tore through the cargo hold. The nose section sheared off completely. Passengers experienced rapid decompression before the aircraft broke apart midair. Megrahi was convicted of mass murder, but released early on compassionate grounds. He lived freely for years despite killing 270 innocent people. Did you know 76 people burned alive while federal agents watched through tank cameras? April 19, 1993. 6 in the morning. FBI tanks began pumping tear gas into the Branch Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. For 51 days, they had tormented the people inside with psychological warfare, blasting sounds through loudspeakers all night, cutting off electricity and water, playing recordings of rabbits being slaughtered. David Koresh and 75 followers were trapped inside, including 25 children. At noon, the tanks smashed through the walls. Within minutes, flames erupted across the wooden building. Audio recordings captured the chaos inside. Screams, panic, people calling for help as smoke filled every room. Windows were blocked by debris, escape routes cut off by the advancing fire. 76 people died that day, most from smoke inhalation. But autopsies revealed something disturbing. Some had gunshot wounds to the head. Were they mercy killings to avoid burning alive? Or something darker? The truth died with them in the flames.
Did you know a machine designed to cure cancer became a torture device that slowly cooked patients alive? In 1985, Katie Yarborough walked into East Texas Cancer Center for routine radiation therapy. The Ferrec 25 machine was supposed to save her life by targeting her tumor with precise doses. But when the technician pressed start, something went horribly wrong. A software glitch caused the machine to deliver 100 times the intended radiation dose. Katie felt an intense burning sensation, like fire erupting inside her body. She screamed that something was wrong, but staff dismissed her concerns. Over the following weeks, her skin began to literally cook from the inside out. The radiation had turned her own cells into weapons against her body. She died in excruciating pain, her tissue dissolving layer by layer. This wasn't an isolated incident. 6 patients suffered the same fate. Each time, the machine's display showed normal readings while delivering lethal doses. The company knew about the software problems, but failed to fix them. Technology meant to heal had become an instrument of slow death.
Did you know Japan once dropped plague-infected fleas from airplanes onto Chinese cities, killing thousands of innocent people? In 1940, Unit 731 under Dr. Shiro Ishii began the most horrific biological warfare program in history. They called their victims logs to make the experiments feel less human. Prisoners were cut open while still alive, without any pain medication, so doctors could watch diseases spread through their bodies. Others were frozen in chambers or thrown into pressure tanks until they died. Everything was carefully written down like a science experiment, but the worst plan never happened. Operation Cherry Blossoms at night would have sent kamikaze pilots loaded with plague to attack California. The war ended just in time. When Japan surrendered, America made a secret deal. They traded immunity from war crimes for all the research data. Dr. Ishii never faced trial. The victims were forgotten, but their suffering gave America biological weapons knowledge, evil disguised as science. Did you know ordinary German police were transformed into mass murderers in just 18 months? On June 23, 1941, Einsatzgruppe A rolled into Kaunas, Lithuania, following the Wehrmacht advance. These weren't random killings. They were calculated genocide with detailed reports sent straight to Berlin. The commanders used a simple formula to break normal men. Start small, add alcohol, gradually increase the horror. At Babi Yar ravine near Kiev, they perfected their method. Over 2 days, 33,771 people were murdered. The process was brutally efficient. Victims stripped naked, forced to lie face down on previous corpses. A single bullet to the neck. Next victim, repeat. Layer after layer of bodies filled the ravine like cordwood. The shooters rotated shifts, drinking vodka between rounds to numb themselves. By 1943, these mobile killing units had murdered over 1 million people. No gas chambers needed, just ordinary men convinced they were following orders. The most terrifying part? It worked. Did you know a German preacher built a torture compound disguised as a Christian colony? In 1961, Paul Schaefer established Colonia Dignidad in rural Chile, claiming it was a peaceful religious settlement. But behind the electric fences and armed guards lay something far more sinister. For over 40 years, this isolated compound operated like a military prison on Chilean soil. When Pinochet seized power, Schaefer offered his services to the secret police. Political prisoners were brought to the colony's hidden underground bunkers. There, Schaefer conducted brutal medical experiments while keeping victims alive for maximum suffering. Electric shock therapy, drug testing, and psychological torture became routine. The compound's hospital became a house of horrors where screams echoed through concrete walls. Bodies were buried in unmarked graves across the property. When investigators finally breached the compound in 2005, they uncovered evidence of over 100 murders. Many victims were never found. their remains lost somewhere in the Chilean wilderness. Schaefer's Christian paradise was actually hell on earth. Did you know the most decorated single military engagement in U.S. history was actually a massacre of unarmed families? On December 29, 1890, 500 soldiers from the 7th Cavalry surrounded Chief Bigfoot's band of 350 Lakota at Wounded Knee. Most were women, children, and elderly seeking shelter from the brutal winter. The soldiers demanded they surrender all weapons during what they called a peaceful disarmament. A deaf warrior named Black Coyote refused to give up his rifle. Soldiers wrestled him to the ground, and his gun accidentally fired into the air. That single shot became the excuse for slaughter. 4 rapid-fire Hotchkiss cannons opened up on families trying to flee across the frozen creek. Soldiers chased survivors into ravines, executing wounded women and children at point-blank range. When the smoke cleared, 300 Lakota lay dead in the snow. Only 25 soldiers died, mostly from their own crossfire. 20 Congressional Medals of Honor were awarded for this heroic action, the most ever given for one battle in American military history.